Hello. I figured that this is a message that is important enough that I wanted to deliver it in a multimedia style, both in writing, which you can see in front of you, and in this video or audio, whichever you prefer, so that hopefully the message will get across. Because this is a message I've basically dedicated my life to spreading, and that is the message of civility and niceness, Menschlichkeit, as we call it. Um, it's not easy being mean for me, but apparently that's what we need to be. So this results from a piece in the New York Times Magazine this past weekend by Peter Baker talking about the Epstein case. But he wrote that at long last, Democrats have a platform from which they finally have an excuse to enjoy the kind of trollish goading by meme they're more often on the receiving end of. Baker continues, for Democrats, all this must be a tempting change of pace from producing carefully phrased, self-serious, and largely ineffectual scolding about constitutional order and the soul of the nation. It's also surely easier than deciding on a political program to improve Americans' lives and convincing voters that it'll actually do so. But it's hard in the long run to picture how learning this new rhetorical style benefits today's Democrats. That's what Baker writes. Now, I have to say, admittedly, it feels good not to always be the ones being owned. Feels good to see someone else squirming in the crosshairs of a South Park barrage, like some puppy on the other end of a Christy Nome volley. It's not as if people haven't constantly made fun of MAGA figures like Nome and Trump, but most of the verbal snipers are late night comics or parody writers. Not usually the mainstream Democratic politicians, especially those in Washington, the ones who were living in the world of when they go low, we go high. That sweet, innocent world of peace and love, if Baker is to be believed, is fading fast. Now, apparently, it's time to go low, lower, lowest. It's easy to become indignant about the meanness that has been thrust upon us, particularly by the neo fascists whose sole purpose in life seems to be to outcruel Attila the Hun. And so, by all means, my fellow sanists turned sadists, mock, demean, and own them to your heart's content. But we need to leave a trail of breadcrumbs behind us so that when the time comes and normalcy returns, and it will, God willing, somehow we'll be able to grope our way through this interminable darkness back to civility. For a while, it might feel good for battered libs to see a naked and microscopically endowed Trump in bed next to Satan, as appeared on South Park. Mean-spiritedness just doesn't come naturally to us, while it is the stuff MAGA is made of, and they would proudly admit it. In fact, it's another way of being owned by forcing us to become like them, or even forcing us to speak in terms of us and them. It reminds me of what Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir once said, a line that has proved prescient on so many levels. When peace comes, we will perhaps in time be able to forgive the Arabs for killing our sons, but it will be harder for us to forgive them for having forced us to kill their sons. MAGA has forced meanness upon us. As Flip Wilson used to say, the devil made me do it. Trump has robbed us of so much, as if it wasn't enough to pass a bill that takes health care away from millions just for the fun of it. Oh, let's take school lunches away too, and gut schools, lobotomize law firms, neuter the most prestigious universities, occupy Washington, D.C. Why not? Militarize L.A., effectively euthanize the disabled communities by denying so many of them life-saving treatment, Medicaid, and promoting eugenics, and and scientific and medical research all together. Now he's done all that. Now he's robbed us of kindness and civility too. By every measure, cruelty is on the upswing. So how could we not hit back hard when MAGA just keeps going lower and lower? And so I'd like to order a heaping helping of Epstein. Although hardly the greatest act of cruelty I've seen this year, I came across a news story that perfectly encapsulates how MAGA meanness has infected everything. It comes out of Idaho. The headline, and you can see it in the written portion of this posting. Attorney General says everyone is welcome here sign cannot be displayed in Idaho schools. Just let that sort of marinate for a moment. A sign, a banner saying everyone is welcome here is now not allowed in Idaho schools. That's just incredible. And they were popular. It actually came out of Minnesota. You can read the story, it's interesting. The idea of everyone welcome actually was called too political by the Idaho Attorney General's office, who banned the banner. And he said it was in a category of banners that show opinions, emotions, beliefs, thoughts about politics, economics, society, faith, or religion, all banned. Interestingly enough, In God We Trust was not considered too religious to appear on school signage. Okay, so it talks about why it's banned, and it indicates that this banner came out of the election of Donald Trump in 2016, which was celebrated on that evening with lots of bigoted signage that, inscriptions, graffiti that was written all over the place. And this banner came as a result of that, of sort of pulling back and saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to be inclusive. We're going to love. It's very similar to other banners that I've seen, and I put one in the written version. One called Hate Has No Home Here, which came out of Chicago. A group of nice people put it together. I've used it as my X and Facebook banner, and I've seen it all over the place as lawn signs. But in Trump bizarro world, attempts to respond to hate with love are seen as some kind of subversive partisan plot. One would think that in heavily Christian Idaho, they might have heard of another political activist who tried to spread love in Nazareth a couple of thousand years ago. I guess his words would be banned too. But as angry as this story made me, I felt less owned and trolled than just plain sad. What was most offensive to them about that banner was less the words than the fact that the hands drawn on it, and you have to take a look at it, were multi-hued. Rather than welcoming diversity in the classroom, the racist powers that be in Idaho apparently wanted to send a bunch of those hands back where they came from. Because the words, everyone is welcome here, they're all fine and good. But the fact that many different hues, colors of hands were drawn was a nightmare, a Stephen Miller nightmare. It looked like America is going to look like in a generation if ICE doesn't cruelly evict every brown person they can as fast as they can. But it's still bizarro and weird to be so threatened by simple hospitality. In the Talmudic tractate, Pirkei Avot, chapter 3, verse 1, Rabbi Akvaya gives perhaps the best Jewish comeback ever to the expression, go back where you came from. That trolling. Here's the verse. Reflect upon three things and you will not come to sin. Know from where you came and where you are going, and before whom you are destined to give account and reckoning. From where have you come? From a putrid drop. Where are you going? To a place of dust, worm, and maggots. Before whom are you destined to give account and reckoning? Before the Holy One, blessed be God. So we come from a putrid drop, obviously, a reference to the messiness from which human life is conceived. And we're going to a place of worms and maggots, our burial, and of course, will be destined to give account and reckoning, all of us, in this belief before God. The rabbis understood that we all come from humble biological beginnings, no matter how great our genes, GE or JE, however you prefer to spell it, or fortuitous our hemisphere of birth. And we're all going to end up in that same maggot infested place 6 feet under. If you think Sydney Sweeney is drop dead gorgeous now, just imagine how gorgeous she will appear just a few years after she actually drops dead. She should live to 120, the Jewish expression goes. Not even King Tut could pull off that look. Even gorgeous Sydney will somehow be all skin and bones minus the skin. And she should live till 120, I should add that Jewish expression. So if anyone ever has the insolence to go tell you to go back where you came from, you can just call them a putrid drop. Or if you want to sound really smart and trollish, a tipa srucha in Hebrew. But do it nicely. It's humbling to see where we all end up, yet strangely liberating to know that in the end we are all the same, even those with the best genes. We're all just a putrid drop heading to maggots. It's a bit harsh, sad, but real, because it tells us the differences are only superficial. And if differences are only superficial on the surface, why make such a big deal over the color of handprints on a banner? They need to experience something pure, something divine, something nice, something akin to what King Saul's ice force experienced when they came to abduct David in chapter 19 of 1 Samuel, verse 20. We read, "And Saul sent messengers to arrest David. And when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing over them, the Spirit of God, Ruach Elohim, came upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied." Saul's messengers, Saul's ice force, came to harm David, who was just a civilian at the time. But they were so taken by the pure, tender faith displayed by Samuel that these thugs instantly were transformed into angels of mercy. What we need is a full-scale regression from the meanness, a pullback from the cruelty, so that we can reach the point where there is no longer any cruelty to troll. We do need to combat the hate with love. I've always said that. I've always said that and always will. But it hasn't been working. It's time to go low. And so for now, mockery, not outright cruelty, mockery is the point. We'll have to keep our DVRs tuned to South Park, no guarantees. They're equal opportunity trollers, but they'll do the job. And trust and demand of our politicians that they do the job as well, that they go low. And hopefully, when the right time comes, and with God's help, it will come, we'll be able to follow the trail of breadcrumbs to find our way back to nice. Thank you.